Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jeevanam Kavibhireeditam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadaadatam Bhuvi Grinanti Ye Bhurida Jana. Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, recorded by M. Mahendranath Gupta. Ishwar Darshane Rupai. Dakshineshwari Thakur Ramakrishna, Dvitiya Darshan or Guru Shishya Sambad. Ramakrishna in Dakshineshwar, and the second meeting of M with the Master and the dialogue between Guru and the Shishya. What are the means for realization of God? See, such simple questions and direct answers. This is the difference between a person who is Anubhuti man, who talks from his experience, and people who talk on the basis of their knowledge of scriptures and speak from their intellect rather than from their inward experience. Master, ईश्वर के की दर्शन करा जाए? रामकृष्ण, हाँ, अवश्य करा जाए। माझे माझे निर्जने बास, तार नाम गुणगान वस्तु विचार, এই সব উপায় অবলম্বন করতে হয়। See how very simply he gives certain formulae. First is है अवश्य करा जाए. There are three obstacles in the spiritual path which are mentioned in Vedanta, post Shankarite Vedanta, particularly in a book called Vasudeva Mananam, is a very famous Advaitic text. And Laghu Vasudeva Mananam is an abridged version of that book. Vasudeva Itindra is a very famous saint. He wrote this primer of Advaita containing so many basic concepts of Advaita clarified. There he mentions this. There are three fundamental obstacles, antaraya, to spiritual growth and realization. One, samshaya bhavana. Two, asambhavana. Three, viparita bhavana. Samshaya bhavana means you have a doubt whether God exists, whether there is such a thing which is beyond the mind and the body. If he exists, he is a sakara, nirakara, what is his form, and so on. Fundamentally about whether God exists at all, whether realization is a thing which is achievable or not. That doubt is removed, it mentions, the Vedanta book, by Shravana. Shravana means listening. Constantly listen to the words of people of realization. Reading a book also is listening. Watching the YouTube is also listening. But it should be from a person who has had a realization. A man of realization, of course, does not go to the YouTube. If he did, this realization is suspect. There are so many gurus these days, and yogis and gurus. The YouTube is full of such things. Many of them are very good, but you can't say that about everything. But some good is happening to everybody. And during the pandemic situation, it became a hobby with the people who are slightly spiritually oriented to go on listening to all kinds of things in the YouTube. Anybody talking in the YouTube, they'll go on listening. But don't overcrowd your brain with too much of listening to people who have not had a direct realization. You may ask then, how do you contact, how do you access people with realization? The answer is very simple. study books, shastras, which come from the mouth of God directly like the Gita, or which are recorded experiences of the rishis, the recorded experience of those even in the modern times like Sri Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, Ramana Maharshi and so many saints who have had direct experience of the highest spiritual reality. These books will be useful, and you may listen to people who expound these books. For example, I am now speaking to you, reading out from the Gospel of Ramakrishna and trying to explain it in as far as possible to my understanding. Don't ask, Swami, you are speaking about this. Have you realized the truth? Then don't talk. Of course, I should not talk. But I am not talking. I am only making it possible for the listeners to access this great book called the Gospel of Ramakrishna. M himself said once, I am a most insignificant person. I live beside an ocean and keep with me a few pictures of the waters. Whenever a visitor comes to listen to me, I serve him a few spoons from this pitcher. What else can I speak except his words? So even though a person may not have realized himself, he communicates to you what is written in the scriptures. The Gita, the Upanishads, the Bhagavatam, the Chandi, the Tantra, so much of literature is there in the spiritual field. A person who can communicate that to you successfully, that person gives you the spiritual truths embedded in these scriptures, and Sravana, listening to him, is equivalent to accessing these great spiritual books. Listening actually to the great spiritual masters. For example, when I read out from the Gospel and trying to explain as much as possible, the reading from the Gospel and listening to it itself is Sravana of the Word of God. So Shravana removes samshaya, bhavana. But even then, the asambhavana remains. I know, believe, I agree that God exists and realization of God is the aim of human life. I agree with all that. But is it possible for me? Vivekananda and Brahmananda and all of them realized God. They are extraordinary spiritual giants. They definitely saw God and they experienced God. They have exceptional purity of mind, purity of body, the power of brahmacharya, and they did so much of sadhana, but I cannot do so much. I am not pure, I am not holy, I don't have the capacity to do intense sadhana. So what do I do? Asambhavana. It is impossible. Asambhav. It is impossible. I don't say God cannot be realized, but for me, at this position, it is not possible. So this asambhavana, which is an obstacle, antaraya, this is removed through manana. Manana is reflection. Having heard, having listened to the scripture, having listened to the words of the holy men, you sit down quietly and again think of the meaning. Tad japas tad artha bhavanam, Yoga Sutra. Pranava mantra has to be chanted, japa, and artha bhavana. Bhavana, reflection on the artha, the meaning. So continuously thinking about the meaning and reflection, saturating your entire inner being with the profundity of the meaning of what has been listened, that is called manana. Manana removes asambhavana. There is one more obstacle, viparita bhavana. You listen deeply, shravana removes the samshaya bhavana. Again you reflect and meditate and contemplate, removes the asambhavana. But even then, when you actually behave in the world, your actions don't tally with your convictions. I believe and am convinced that it is possible for me to realize I am the Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swarupa. I am the infinite, I have no pain, I have no hatred. But in actual life, when somebody insults me, somebody goes against me, I feel terribly angry, and then some ill feeling towards that person comes to me. That's just the opposite of what you heard and what you have convinced about. You said God is real, and then you said you are the infinite reality. Na dveshti, na kangshati, all the shlokas in the Gita you have memorized. Adveshta sarvabhutana maitra karunayevacha nirmamo narahankaraha samadakya sukakshami. Adveshta sarvabhutanam, he has no ill feeling, no enmity towards any being in this world. Maitra karunayevacha, he has only friendliness. He has compassion for everybody. And nirmamo nirahankara, he has no sense of I and mine. Sukha and dukkha, he takes to be the same. And kshami, tremendous forbearance he has. I have memorized it. I contemplate upon the meaning. I am convinced about it. Asambhavana and samshaya bhavana have gone, but in practice, somebody says something against me and then vilifies me without any reason, and immediately I flare up. Even though I may not react, I forbear, kshami, but deep within, I harbor some kind of ill feeling towards the person. See, I don't care, I will not react. But that fellow will suffer for what he did to me. Viparita bhavana. In actual practice, you do just the opposite. Even in the lives of great men, this is reflected, just to give us an example, not that it affected them in any way. It's a leela so that we learn our lessons. Life of Shankaracharya, for example. The great Acharya was after Ganges baths in the Benares, he was coming, and there was a Chandala, supposed to be a total outcast. With 4 dogs he was coming, and somehow Shankaracharya's paths he crossed and he touched him. Shankara immediately flared up. What? You Chandala? I am now coming from baths in the Ganges, you touched me? The Chandala smiled and broke out into a song. O sage, neither you have touched me nor I have touched you. The Asparsha, the untouchable, the Supreme Being, and you and I and everybody is that Supreme Satchidananda Swarupa. Then it was revealed that the Chandala was Shiva himself, Mahadeva, Vishwanatha. In order to teach a lesson to Shankara, he came. The 4 dogs are the 4 Vedas. Samskaras. Even though you might have realized the highest truth, somehow the samskara inherent in the body and the mind come and attack you. In the case of people like Shankara, etc., it doesn't affect him in any way. Even then, it appears to affect them because the body-mind. Just to give us a lesson. Swami Vivekananda's life. A Bhangi was just about to give him a smoke and then immediately resisted. It's a Bhangi. It's a low caste. Then he told himself, what? I am a sannyasin. What is caste to me? I should have samadarshitva to everybody. All people are the same to me. He was the Maharaja of Khetri's place. And he was sitting by the side of Maharaja. And the Maharaja's court, many people come and a lot of entertainment goes on. There is an Baiji, a dancer, a beautiful dancer. She came to dance in the court. Swamiji immediately left that place, Swami Vivekananda, because he thought to himself, I am a sannyasin. I should not see such scenes of women dancing. And the dancer was so deeply hurt. She was such an elevated, pure lady. She had to dance and manage the profession and manage the household. But inside her heart, she was the embodiment of pure thoughts. She wanted to perform in the presence of this great enlightened sage, Swami Vivekananda. And he was so deeply disappointed when Swamiji walked away, which was a signal that the woman was impure. Then burst into a beautiful song. Prabhu mero avaguna chittuna dharo. Surdas' song, very famous song. Prabhu mero avaguna chittuna dharo. O Lord, do not look into my evil qualities. Samadarshi hai tu. You are Samadarshi. You are equal to all. Samoham sarvabhuteshu rame dveshyosti na priyaha. You are equal to everybody. A sword may be in the hands of a deity as a astra, like in the case of Kali. Or a sword may be in the hands of a butcher who kills animals and for meat. But when they touch the philosopher's stone, Sparshamani, both of them are converted into gold. I may be weak, I may be impure, I may be small, I may be stupid. But when I get the touch of the Lord, I become the purest of the pure. Take the case of Girish Chandra Ghosh. Girish Chandra Ghosh said, there is no sin which I have not committed. When I sit in a place, that very place on which I sit, down up to 15 feet, the entire place will become impure. Such is my impurity. But look, by the touch of Sri Ramakrishna, I have been transformed. When Sri Ramakrishna kept some Gerua cloths, Buddha Gopal Das, Swami Advaitananda later, brought some Rudraksha Mala and Gerua cloths to be distributed to sannyasis. Sri Ramakrishna said, where will you get greater sannyasis than these young boys? His would-be sannyasis like Vivekananda Brahmananda called one by one, gave them all one piece of Gerua cloth and one Rudraksha. That was the beginning of the Ramakrishna Sangha, the Sannyasi Sangha. Ramakrishna himself initiated the Ramakrishna Sangha by distributing symbolically a piece of cloth as a mark of renunciation and tyaga, sannyasa, and the Rudrakshamala. Rudrakshamala is the purest ornament one can wear for elevation of the soul, which is very sacred for Shiva. One piece of Gerua cloth he kept for Girish Chandra Ghosh. Can you imagine that? he said Girish Chandra Ghosh is no less than a sannyasin. Just to prove, perhaps, the truth of his own words when he came as Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, Apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananyabhak sadhureva samantavyaha samyak vyavasito hi saha. Apichet sudurachara, not ordinary durachara, sudurachara, extreme durachara, extremely wicked, voluptuous, impure, corrupt, but he bhajate maham ananya bhak. But he has great one-pointed devotion to the Lord. He cries to the Lord and says, "Oh Lord, please pardon me, please elevate me." Sadhureva samantavyaha, such a person should be considered a sadhu, should be considered a saint. Why? Samyak vyavasito hi saha. Because he is resolved well, steadfastly resolved. Because of his steadfast resolution, he should be considered a sadhu. As if to prove the veracity and the truth of this saying, Sri Ramakrishna preserved a piece of ochre cloth, giruva, robe for Girish Chandra Ghosh. Immediately Swami Vivekananda ran back to the court, and the extraordinary egolessness in him manifested. As if with folded hands he stood before that lady and said, "Mother, Ma, Kshama karo. Mother, please forgive me. For a moment, I thought, I am too holy to be here." The greatest sense of egoism is the feeling that I am holy, I am a holy man, and I am so egoless. The moment you wear the Giruva robe, the idea that you are pure and holy comes to you, which is necessary to protect yourself. Why sannyasins wear the robe is to show to the world that he is holy, incapable of indulging in anything which is unholy, so that he will protect himself by this robe. Just the uniform of a policeman. The uniform of a policeman protects him from doing anything which is unlawful. But the downside, the flip side is, the moment you wear the Giruva robe, you feel yourself holy and pure and look down upon others who you think are not sufficiently holy. The sannyasins looking down upon the grihasthas and householders is a great sin. Garhastha ashrama, grihastha ashrama is the Jyeshtha ashrama and Shrestha ashrama. It is the oldest, 99% of the world population of grihasthas. They are the people who protect the other ashramis. Brahmacharya ashrama, Vanaprastha ashrama and Sannyasa ashrama. The ashramis belonging to these three depend for their sustenance on the grihastha. Sometimes the sannyasins become afflicted or bitten by this holier than thou syndrome and think that they are very holy. They will not eat from a householder, they will not accept anything from the householder, and they will not allow them to even to bow down. They feel very hurt. That's why Holy Mother Sharada Devi once smiled and said, showing her own cloth, she was wearing a white cloth, said, "Etai bhalo, giruva porle ahankar hoy." You see, the white cloth is better. If you wear the ochre robe, Sannyasin's robe, you develop the possibility of developing some egoism is very strong. So spiritual life is such a terrible journey. You should be extremely careful. It's just like walking over a razor's edge. There is a statement in the Kathopanishad. Kshurasya dhara nishita duratyaya durgam pathastat kavayo vadanti. Wise men say, men of realization, kavayaha, they say, the kshurasya dhara, it's so sharp as a razor's edge. So difficult to walk and cross. But never despair. Uttishtata jagrata prapyavaran nibodhata. Arise and awake, and approaching men of realization, great men, learn from them, learn from them. They will teach you. Upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. This is the wonderful statement in the Upanishads and the Gita. Somehow you feel that you have become superior. Viparita bhavana, Totapuri, he was such a great jnani. By intensest sadhana for nearly 40 years, he got the realization of the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the highest state of Samadhi in Vedanta. Same Brahman is present everywhere. He used to light the dhuni fire and sit for meditation. One day, the tree under which he was meditating, there is a Brahmadaitya, a kind of a demigod, who wanted to tease and threaten Totapuri. So it simply dropped down and sat before him and tried to threaten him. Totapuri smiled and said, "Oh, you are here, Brahmadaitya? Come on, sit. You are also the same Brahman as I am. Now let us come and sit and meditate together." The Brahmadaitya was frightened and ran away. Such a great realized jnani. One day, one person came and wanted to take away some fire, some small pieces of fire, charcoal, from the dhuni fire which he has tending, perhaps for smoke or whatever. Totapuri becomes so furious because that is so sacred to him. And with a pair of tongs, he ran to beat him. Then Ramakrishna saw this and started laughing aloud. Ha 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 ha. Then he said, "Why are you laughing like that?" Then in Bengali he said, "Tomar Brahmagyanar Shala Tomar Brahmagyanar Dauta Dekhinalam." In Bengali, Shala is a slang word which is used in so many senses. One sense is to scold somebody very mildly. This word is used. Shala actually means brother-in-law. I don't know why this word come about. And sometimes out of affection, I say, "Shala ki sundar gaan korle iske bolo to." Friends use this word just to as affection. But here Totapuri was becoming angry. So Ramakrishna said, "Shala tomar Brahmagyanar dauta dekhinilam." I saw the extent of your Brahmagyana. You are a great jnani, you are a Brahmagyani, and you are getting furious about a person who is taking a small piece of fire from your dhuni. Immediately he understood. See, this is the greatness of these people. Instantly. Yes, what you say is right. Krodh Chandal. Anger is a terrible demon. It devours you completely. Kamayesha krodhayesha rajoguna samudbhavaha mahashano mahapapma vidyenam iha vairinam. Gita, 3rd chapter. Kama and Krodha, born of Rajoguna, or Rajoguna giving rise to Kama and Krodha, Mahashano, they are raging fires which will simply gobble you, devour everything. Mahapapma, terribly sinful. Know them to be great enemies. Vidyenamiha Vairinam. Remember now and here you realize these are terrible enemies. Immediately Totapari said, Krodh Chandal. That means Krodh is terrible demon. Here I drop anger. The moment he said that, from that moment he was seen to be the calmest of the calm, tranquil person, never getting agitated or angry. This is the greatness of these people. Just like we remove the shirt, just like we remove our clothes, they can just remove a feeling from their heart and throw it away. I got angry, which was not correct. Anger, come, I'll pluck it out from my heart, throw away anger. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, the Shadrapu, 7 enemies, 6 enemies lurking within you. Take them out and throw them out. Yogis can do that. Just like we're removing the clothes, they can remove these thoughts, remove these impulses, remove these emotions, negative emotions from their mind. So, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, listening, reflecting, and getting deeply absorbed and becoming one with that feeling, emotion. These 3 practices respectively remove the 3 obstacles of Samshaya Bhavana, Viparita Bhavana and Asambhavana. These negative emotions. That's why in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the glory of Shravana Manana Nididhyasana is sung. The whole source of this practice comes from this Upanishad. Yagyavalkya Maitreyi Samvada. Yagyavalkya concludes his dialogue in that context by the following sentence: Atma va are drashtavyaha shrotavyo mantavyo nididhyasitavyaha. This Atman should be seen, should be realized. Shrotavyaha should be listened. About the Atman, we should listen from men of realization. Mantavyaha, meditated upon, contemplated, reflected on what is being heard and listened. Nididhyasitavyaha. Nididhyasana is a kind of samadhi. You become so absorbed in that thought, it no longer remains a thought, but goes much deeper. Thought is usually at the manomaya level. Pranamaya level is the level of emotion. Annamaya, pranamaya, gross emotion and subtle emotion. Emotion, sentiment, feeling, they are all in the pranamaya kosha. And beyond the pranamaya, manomaya is thoughts, notions, conceptions. That is the manana. Nididhyasana goes beyond that, Vijnanamaya, and Nididhyasana matures fully into Samadhi, you are in the Anandamaya. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, listening, reflection, and getting deeply and profoundly absorbed in that, what is being listened, you become completely unaware of your body-mind. These 3 are spoken of in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Why I mention this Ishwar ke ki darshan kora jai, sandeha, samshaya, and asambhavana. That means, it is not possible. Then Ramakrishna gives a beautiful answer, simple formulae. 3 simple practices. Formula 1, Formula 2, Formula 3. Remember, that these extraordinary texts coming from the mouth of the Avatara, incarnation of God, have no embellishment, have no alankara, ornamentation, have no pretension, have no sophistry. They are straight from the heart, depth of realization, and practicable and easily doable even by a common person like us. So what is the formula? 1. Majhe majhe nirjane vash. 2. Tar naam gunagan. 3. Vastu vichar. Once again you see how very subtly, if you see through this, jnana, bhakti and yoga are combined. Dharma, yoga samanvaya, combination or synthesis, harmonious blending of jnana, bhakti, karma and yoga, these are the teaching of Sri Ramakrishna, which Swami Vivekananda amplified and emphasized in a huge way, is the formula for the modern world. Every statement of Sri Ramakrishna, we have pointed out even earlier, somehow or other will come through this. We also saw Sri Ramakrishna saying, Ishware bhakti labha na kore সংসারে থাকবে না. Without developing devotion to God, don't live in the world. সব কাজ করবে, মন ঈশ্বরে রাখবে, কর্মযোগা. Then সঙ্গে সঙ্গে বিচার করা খুব দরকার, জ্ঞান যোগা. Same thing he says here, মাঝে মধ্যে নির্জন বাস, Raja Yoga. Anything which is done sitting on one asana alone is called Raja Yoga. There is no group meditation is not known. Now we are trying to revive all that. Meditation is alone, you and your God, if you are a bhakta, or you sit and raise your kundalini from the Mooladhara, passing through the various chakras, it reaches the Sahasrara, and Shiva and Shakti come together and get into Samadhi. So, Majhe Majhe Nirjane Bash. Be alone, be alone. Solitude is something which is most vital for spiritual life. This coronavirus, COVID-19 pandemic, has given us a great, blessed opportunity to be alone. Nirjana. Remember this. Don't take it as a punishment. Don't take it as something which demotivates you and disturbs you or depresses you. Take it as a great challenge. An opportunity has come to me for inner creativity when the outer movements are restricted. Some of the extraordinary books were written when the author was in jail. The Discovery of India by Jawaharlal Nehru was written when he was in jail. Rishi Aurobindo had some extraordinary spiritual experiences. He had a vision of Sri Ramakrishna when he was in jail. And he developed the whole system of the integral yoga when he was in jail. What does that mean? When the external movements are restricted, when your indriyas, karmendriyas and jnanendriyas don't have any food supply, then the higher vision opens up. So it is necessary sometimes to restrict the outer movements. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. Listening, touching, seeing, tasting, smelling, 5 senses. Vak, Pani, Pada, Paya, Upastha. Constantly talking. Unfortunately, we have this demon, Rakshasa, called the Android telephone, the smartphone. Even though you may be alone, you are not alone. You keep talking 20 hours in a day, somebody or the other, you have a video chat, you can see that person. All kinds of things you can do with a smartphone. The smartphone may be smart, that makes you absolutely dull, stupid, and extrovert, unspiritual. Unless it is used properly for certain purposes only. How people get addicted to this, particularly during this Corona, COVID-19, you see people getting addicted. They say it is necessary. Online classes I am doing and therefore it is necessary. It may be necessary. But beyond what is necessary, are you using it or not? Ask yourself this question. The answer is yes, drop it immediately. Only when it is necessary for your work can you do it. Be alone, be alone. Vak, Pani, hand. That's why they say when you meditate, keep the hand in a steady posture. Payu, the anus, too much excessive eating disturbs you. Vak, Pani, Pada, Payu, Upastha. The generative organ, which disturbs you by giving you so many negative and worldly impulses, born of your samskaras. So control the senses. Indriyan indriyarthebhyastasya prajna pratisthita. When the indriyas are completely taken away from the indriya artha, the vishaya, the objects, then you become a sthita prajna. Simplest definition possible of a Brahmagyani. Who is a Brahmagyani? Who has completely taken all the indriyas away from the indriya artha, the senses away from the sense objects. So, majhe nirjane vash. Not only physical solitude, but mentally be alone. In your mind, don't go on crowding it with all kinds of people and talks and imaginations and so on. And don't constantly keep conversing with the telephone with people unnecessarily. Nirjane Bash. The Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, all of them emphasize this. Vivikta sevi laghvashi yatava kaya manasa dhyana yoga paro nityam vairagyam samupasrita ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodham parigraham vimucya nirmama shanto brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Last chapter, towards the very end, Bhagavan says, Vivikta sevi, completely alone, nirjanvash, laghu ashi, eats very less. Whatever is necessary for the body, sustenance, he eats. Yata vaka kaya manasaha. Kaya, the body, vak, speech, manasa, the mind, yata, completely controlled, restrained. Dhyana yoga paro nityam, devoted constantly to the yoga of meditation. Dhyana yoga paro nityam, vairagyam samupashritaha. He has developed distaste for the worldly enjoyment. Vairagya means dispassion, distaste. It doesn't allure you anymore. Eating and drinking and socializing, meeting people. Now the corona stopped all this, fortunately for us. The club life, going and meeting people. You have to spend time. But time is so precious. How much of time we have wasted and are wasting in things which are external, extraversion. So be inward. Dhyana yoga paro nityam vairagyam samupashritaha. Why is it your mind not going out? Because you don't find it tasty. If some food is served to you, you don't have any, feel any taste for it, any interest in it, you dislike it, then obviously you will not taste it. So if and that kind of feeling towards the worldly enjoyments, then ahankaram, balam, darpam, kamam, krodham, parigraham, giving up ahankara, egoism, balam, that sense of pride in your own capacity, prowess. I am so strong, my body is strong, and I am so intellectually bright. Kama, lust, krodha, anger. Giving up all this, nirmama shanta. There is no ahankara, there is no mamakara. I and mine. The I, ego, manifests as the mine. This is my book, this is my wife, my children, my bank balance, my credit card, my car, my book, my position. The I gets attached to innumerable things. And the most intimate is my body, my mind, my senses. How much time do we spend to tender the body or eyes for makeup and so on? For glowing skin? It will not glow forever. Don't spend too much time on it. Keep it clean, keep it pure. Nirmama shantaha, tranquil, calm, steady. What happens to such a person? He becomes eligible for Brahmajnana, Brahmabhuyaya kalpate. Same idea is repeated everywhere. Elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavan says, here he said, Vivikta Sevi, Vivikta Sevitvam Aratir Janasamsadi, 13th chapter. Vivikta Sevitvam, he resorts to a place in which there are not a crowded place, but he goes alone. Aratir Janasamsadi, Janasamsadi, if he finds himself in the midst of crowd, too many people, Arati, Rati means enjoyment, taste. He finds distaste. He doesn't enjoy too much of crowd and the company of people anymore. The moment you grow in spiritual life, more and more these things will be manifest. You might have been going to clubs and playing with the people and chatting, and then every day you spend a couple of hours there, come back happy, socializing as they call it. Your friends, your companions. A time will come when you grow in spirituality, inwardness, in meditation, in discernment, vichara. All this slowly drop. Your friends will say, oh, you are not a joy anymore. You are a killjoy. You are not fun anymore. You are a bore. Your friends will give you up. Perhaps those who are near and dear to you will also slowly distance themselves from you, and you will feel alone. You say good riddance. You may not say that always. You feel unhappy. Why don't people talk to me anymore? Like that? Because you are not the same person anymore. People see a change in you. People see that you have grown in spirituality, that they may not know, but they feel you are not finding taste anymore. There was a time when you used to feel so happy in my company, but you don't want me anymore. No, I don't. It's not that I don't want. I just want to be alone. I feel happy being alone. All right, be alone. You don't care for me. Those who are dear to you will feel upset, will feel angry. Let them. A few hearts will be broken. Let them be broken. If you want God, the hearts of people who you have been claiming to be dear and near, the dolls with which you have been playing so far, the human dolls, they have to be broken and thrown away. Swami Vivekananda said very harshly, the heart has to be plucked out and the bleeding heart placed upon the altar. That is the way great things are done. It's a sacrifice. I am not frightening you or threatening you. These things have to come today or tomorrow. Majhe majhe nirjan vash, tar nama gunagan bhakti. Then you feel alone, you feel dry, you feel unhappy. Come on, clap your hands and sing the name of God. How many stotras are available? How many wonderful songs are available in so many languages? In Bengali, Ram Prasad, Kamalakanta, Premi, how many songs? This Ramakrishna used to sing. Swami Brahmanandaji used to sing. Vivekananda used to sing. Purandara Dasa in Karnataka. Tyagaraja in Telugu. And in Tamil, how many Alvars and Nayanmars, how many songs? In Marathi, Ganeshwari and then Tukaram and Namdev. Every region in India, there is not a single place in India where great religious songs are not sung, not cultivated. Hundreds of thousands of songs are available. Listen to them, sing them. Nama Gunagan. Nama Sankirtana is a very, very potent spiritual practice. Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Dev, he propagated this in a very big way. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Krishna Sankirtana, the Sankirtana of the Lord, the name of God. Nam Namakari Bahudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrarpita Niyamita Smarane Nakala Etadrishi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrushamihajani Nanuraga. O Lord, you have created Bahudha, so many names, hundreds of thousands of names of yours you have created by which I can call you. And in each of these names you have poured your own power, Shakti, and you have not put any restriction as to the time or place where and when it has to be chanted. So huge is your mercy and grace, O Lord. And such is my misfortune that I do not have love for your name. No ruchi, there is no ruchi for your name. So develop Name Ruchi. Vaishnavas always insist on this. How do you develop the Name Ruchi? By repeating it often, continuously, japa. Take a simple worldly example. When boys and girls, how do they increase the love for each other? Constantly repeating the name in so many different ways they call each other and how they chat. In exactly the same way, call on God in innumerable ways. Now as Kali, now as Krishna, now as Durga, now as Nirakara, how many ways he can be called, and develop the taste for it. Kirtana. Nama Sankirtana. That's why he says, Tara Nama Gunagan. By continuously doing this, you will develop taste, ruchi. Sharada Devi, the Holy Mother, said so beautifully. See, there's a piece of sandalwood. You can't get the fragrance immediately. There's a piece of sandal. You take a stone, go on rubbing it. When you go on rubbing it slowly, the fragrance come out. Exactly the same way, when you rub your mind with the name of God, whatever be the name, japa, meditation, continuously singing, rub your mind, constantly rub your mind with God's name, then the taste develops. The moment you take the name of God, it is so sweet. Madhura Ramakrishna Nam. Diva Vibhavari Dako Prano Bhori Jaya Ramakrishna Bole. Devendranath Majumdar, a great disciple of Ramakrishna, household disciple, wrote this song. Day and night, Diva Vibhavari Dako Prana Bhori. Your heart's content, Jaya Ramakrishna, you call Lord's name. Nirjana Vash, Tana Nama Gunagan, Vastu Vichar, Jnana. See how he beautifully harmonizes yoga, meditation, bhakti, Nama Gunagan, Vastu Vichar, discernment. Analyze yourself. What is real, what is unreal? What is Vichara? Sadasad Vichara. What is Sat? Real. What is Asat? Unreal. Nitya Anitya Vichara. That which is permanent, that which is ephemeral. Eshab Upai Avalamban Kurte Hai. So we got a beautiful formula today. So what is to be done is very simple. Majhe Majhe Nirjana Vash. So you can't go away for a long time. Now and then, whenever occasion arises, try to go to solitude and intensely pray to God, and then combine it with Nama Gunagana so that you don't become dry, selfish, and Vastu Vichar. Constantly practice discernment between the real and the unreal, between the eternal and the ephemeral. God alone is real and the world is unreal. Everything in the world, the enjoyment, etc., is unreal in the sense that it is not permanent. God alone is eternal. Everything else in the world is non-eternal or ephemeral. So this simple formula, let us practice every day, day after day, month after month, year after year. You will see after some time how a glow comes to your face, how so much of joy wells up in your heart, so much of calmness comes to you, and you feel so much of unselfish love towards the whole world. You want to embrace the whole world in one web of great, selfless, pure love. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukampadhrita Vigraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamidyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namamaha. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.